Greetings, viewer! Today you join me aboard the Renault Arkana. The Renault Arkana, which is the French manufacturer's first coupe-like SUV for Europe. Interestingly, it is based on the same underpinnings as the Renault Clio, but it's a bigger car. It measures like 4.5 meters in length, so it's the size of a Kadjar, Renault's family-oriented crossover. And in Europe, you cannot have it with all-wheel drive. My tester today is an RS line model, which gets some sporty exterior bits and interior bits as well. But it isn't any faster or any stiffer. This is purely an appearance package for it. This car is one of the few coupe-like crossovers that are not from a premium brand. Premium brands BMW invented this body style, which has become hugely successful. Sadly, I would add. I'm not a big fan. But now, mainstream manufacturers are also adopting the body style simply because buyer demand is on the increase. Demand for crossovers in general is on the increase. But there's also growing demand for coupe crossovers. My tester is powered by Renault's TCE 140 engine, which is a 1.33 liter four-cylinder with a turbocharger that makes 140 horsepower and around 260 Newton meters of torque. It doesn't make the Arkana a fast vehicle, but it doesn't make it a sluggish one either. Let's try a launch. So this car has a 7-speed dual clutch transmission as standard. Left on the brake. I have buried my right foot in the gas. I'm gonna let it go. And that's 100. It's fine. It's not that quick. It's adequate. Besides, even though this vehicle looks sporty, it doesn't really drive that sportily. But that's not its fault necessarily. It's just the fact that it's a taller vehicle, and taller vehicles aren't that sporty. Or if you make them sporty, you will have to put granite in the suspension. I mean, make it really, really stiff, and that ruins the ride, and that ruins the entire vehicle. So most manufacturers just choose to make their even their sportier crossovers softer than they would a comparable sedan or hatch or lower car. That being said, threading this car around this twisty road isn't that difficult. The steering is quite sharp, although off-center it's a bit vague, but it's not bad for a crossover. And the engine provides decent punch to get out of corners. You can customize the driving modes. The dials, the digital dials, change when you put the car in sport. Speaking of the digital dials, this car has an optional setup. It's a 10.25-inch screen. It's the second optional setup, so in base trim, this car gets analog dials. Then there's a mid-tier upgrade that gets you a part digital setup. And then this fully digital gauge cluster, Renault will also sell the Arkana with a more powerful version of this powertrain, which instead of 140 will get 160 horsepower, and also an E-Tech hybrid version. Not a plug-in, just a hybrid. Now, because in Russia, this same vehicle is built on Renault's B0 platform, as opposed to this Europe spec car, which, by the way, is built in South Korea, alongside the Samsung XM3, which is the same car, just rebadged, and with a better infotainment and a few different things. But the Russian version can be had with all-wheel drive, which this Euro version cannot. In Europe, Renault decided to concentrate on electrification and technology and safety features, and this car has a complete selection of active safety features, including adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, autonomous emergency braking with bicyclist recognition, as well as plenty of passive features, such as a very stiff shell, 8 airbags, Taking one look at this car's exterior, you would think that Renault sacrificed some practicality in order to make it a coupe-like crossover, and you would be right. If this was a traditional boxy type crossover, you would have definitely had more than the 520-ish liters that you have in the trunk in this body style. But it wouldn't have been that much bigger. And many vehicles that have this body style, even ones that are bigger than this, they are really compromised when it comes to rear headroom. However, the Arkana isn't. I was hugely impressed by the fact that I can totally fit behind myself. For knee room, I have about this much before my knees hit the seat in front, but it felt surprisingly comfortable in the back. I will say though that I did not appreciate the fact that the door cards in the back have hard plastic here on top, whereas here in the front they are soft, as is the dash, so some cost cutting was done there. Sticking to the exterior, I have to say the Arkana is one of the prettier coupe-like crossovers. The only other two that I can think of that are not from a premium brand are the Toyota CHR and the Citroen C4, which can also be had as the pure electric EC4. But honestly, I think the Arkana is the prettiest out of these three models. It's a very handsome vehicle for what it is. The front end is typical Renault. It has the C-shaped LED daytime running lights, the typical Renault grille, and this being the RS line, it has a sporty front bumper that looks like what you might see on an actual RS badged Renault, although Renault is kind of waving goodbye to the RS brand and is focusing more on electrification and the Alpine brand. So we'll see where that takes it. Even though Renault Sport RS is an established brand in the world of hot hatches and performance cars generally, but mostly hot hatches. The 18-inch rims are also specific to the RS line model, as is the rear bumper, which gets two quite nasty looking, frankly, fake exhausts. I think this is one of the worst trends in the automotive industry. I do not like it one bit. I don't understand why manufacturers do it. Who are they lying to? Are they lying to their buyers or themselves? This car no longer has any traditional incandescent bulbs for the exterior lighting. Everything is done with LEDs. And just like the headlights, the rear lights also have the familiar trademark Renault look. When it comes to ground clearance, this vehicle does look kind of rugged, even though, again, it doesn't come with all-wheel drive. And it has a decent ground clearance of 20 centimeters, which is pretty good. It's more, for instance, than the 16 centimeters that you get in the new Citroen C4. But I still really wouldn't take this vehicle off-roading. From the driver's seat, the Arkana is surprisingly good. You don't sit particularly high, which I myself really like, because I feel that in some SUVs and crossovers, I'm sitting on the car instead of in it. I have a big problem with that. But thankfully in the Arkana, you sit quite low for this type of vehicle. Materials in the front are all pretty nice. I like the RS line steering wheel. It is flat bottomed and also flat topped. It has perforated leather on the grip parts. It has some paddles, but I think the paddles aren't very well placed because I have to stretch my fingers to reach them, but at least they're there. I'm not sure you're really going to use them. Maybe just going down some mountain road where you need engine braking. But just having them there looks sporty and makes the vehicle feel sporty. It also has the optional infotainment screen. It's a 9.3-inch screen, if I remember correctly. And it's fairly good. You can get it with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But it's an adequate infotainment. It's not among the best, but it's not offensive either. You thankfully get physical climate controls, below which you have two USB ports and an aux in. And further down, there's also an inductive charging pad. You also get two cup holders here, right in front of the center armrest. And it's all fairly practical. There's a deep but kind of small cubby underneath the armrest, but it's decent. The seats themselves also deserve attention. This RS line model gets some rather snazzy looking sport seats, sports-ish seats, because they look sportier than they really are, meaning they don't really have that much lateral support. But they do have this Alcantara finish on part of the bolsters, as well as perforated leather, and they do a good job of looking sporty. In this version, they are also electrically adjustable, fully electrically adjustable. You can even move them forward and back electrically. Something I didn't think I would ever say is I like the fake carbon fiber in this car. Usually I'm really against it, especially if it's fake. But in this car, Renault has really pulled it off. It really does fool you. Overall, in the front, the ambiance is quite sophisticated and sporty, and I do like it. This car also has the optional Bose sound system, which I find average. It's not bad, but it's not particularly good either. When you put the car in sport mode, the graphics on the digital gauge cluster change, and on the main infotainment screen you get a photo of the car on a racing track, which is obviously a place where it would totally be out of its depth, but it's amusing that Renault chose that photo for that mode. I understand why Renault made the Arkana, and I understand why it has such high expectations from this model, because it's in a segment that's continually growing. Buyers want this type of vehicle. I have no idea why, even though I'm supposed to be an automotive journalist, but I cannot understand this trend. The only explanation I have is people have no idea what they're buying, and they want something that kind of looks like an SUV and kind of looks like a coupe, but it's neither of those. But at least it drives well enough to not be offensive. It looks pretty decent, and I'm sure it will make a lot of people who aren't car enthusiasts very happy. My tester with the RS line pack, the bigger infotainment screen and the Bose sound system, is just over 30,000 euros, VAT included. So it's fairly affordable for a vehicle of this type. The more powerful engine variants will add around 1,500 to 2,000 euros to the final price tally, so it still won't be a mega expensive vehicle. I think you can option it out to above 35,000 euros, but I'm not sure why you would do that. This is a vehicle best enjoyed at a more affordable price. I think that concludes my video of the Arkana. It was a short first contact, so I didn't get to drive it too much and form a very detailed opinion about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching until the end. If you have not subscribed, please do so because it helps a lot. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.